99-cent rental.
This is 99 Cent Rental. I'm your host, Brian White, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Dave. Hey, Dave, how you doing over there?
Oh, hello, I am not too bad. It is Memorial Day weekend, and I often struggle to take any time off, pretty much ever. But I forced myself to take an entire day off the other day. I had myself a bit of a movie marathon. I think I watched about 9 movies.
Dang.
Yeah, no, I started.
That's not a marathon. That's a film festival.
It really was. It was. It had a theme. It was international. International.
International.
But I will. I'm going to recommend one of them. I'm going to recommend a Czechoslovakian movie called Freckled Max and the Spooks.
You were telling me about this. Very silly title. I looked it up. It sounds very crazy.
Yeah, it's it's like a Eastern Bloc madcap hilarity.
It's not animated or anything, right?
No, it is a live action film. It really reminded me of. Do you remember the HBO, like late 80s HBO kids programming that was like Encyclopedia Brown, and it was like a bunch of it. Like I think Fraggle Rock came out of that as well. Just like a bunch of weird live action programming. And I don't know that any of them really lasted that long. Maybe Young Sherlock Holmes was one of them.
That'd be like mid 80s, but I think I know what you're talking about. It's like a lot of stuff sort of adapted from essentially school library, young, like not children's books, but like fiction aimed at like 10-year-olds.
Yeah, we'll call them young readers.
Young readers. That's accurate. And it had it was appropriate for the age, but everything had a really strange bent to it.
Yes. It's a little bit of, there's a moral message usually. And because it was still the 80s, it was like a positive moral message. And it just has a strange vibe, but I really enjoyed it. Like it was fun. It was cute. I got Deaf Crocodile put out I think it's Blu-ray, not too long ago. I've not gotten into any of the special features because I don't know that I will, but it's, I really liked it. I thought it was interesting. I think that era is so bizarre, and it all feels like, obviously this was Czechoslovakian, but it all feels a little Canadian to me.
It's a real peanut butter solution you got on your hands over there.
Yes, that is what it is. Absolutely. What is the name of that series?
Tales for All. Yeah,
it feels like that, where it's like there's a little bit of danger, but not much. The stakes are real low. It's a little bit spooky, and everybody's happy at the end. And probably someone slips on a banana peel or something.
Someone throw a pie.
Yeah, this is basically that.
Yeah. Oh well, that's I don't know. That sounds interesting as hell. I'm gonna have to look it up. Particularly that it comes from a country that no longer exists.
Yeah, no, I was like, well, how do I describe it? What do I call this country now? Because it's...
where is this car from? That country no longer exists.
Is it Slovakia? Is that what it is now?
I don't know, maybe.
I think it's like Chechnya. God, I am too old for this. Too old for geopolitics.
You made it an attempt, though. No, that sounds cool as hell. I'm going to have to check that one out. But it's hard to explain to someone who never had the experience what a trip to the video store was like back in the day. The shelves were choked with absolutely bizarre crap made on tiny budgets, completely divorced from any recognizable reality, and it was the best. And we intend to talk about every one of them. And just before we get into it, here's a little housekeeping. If you want to keep up with us between episodes, you can also find us on Instagram at BringMeTheAxePod. Dave's over there at That Werewolf. I urge you to follow us. Give us a little follow if you do that Instagram thing.
Yeah, it's coming up. Pride Month starts soon. I am going to be having recommendations every day.
Yep, every day. See, some people they'll make like a one post that has like a whole like a list of movies in it. But no, we don't do it like that.
Nope.
We're gonna do it every day. Tell you why you got to watch it.
Yeah, I got horror films and cult films.
Ooh, so we're mixing it up, doing a proper Bring Me the Axe 99 Cent rental.
That's right.
All right. Well, look forward to that. That's coming up in June. And if you don't know, we have another show called Bring Me the Axe. Our latest episode covering prom night is out now. It's a lot of fun. That's a good one. I had a good time doing that one. That one's out now. I have a good time doing all of them, but that one in particular. And we'll be back next week with a look at the Joan Crawford and Betty Davis in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane as we kick off our Pride series proper for June.
Never heard of it.
It's a classic. You can also contact us directly at 99centrental@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or suggestions. Do let us know if there's a cheesy movie that you love and would like to hear us give it the business. And if you would like to support us on Patreon, you can look us up over there at patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. There's a couple of tiers you can join there. Subscribers to the $5 a month tier can look forward to our bi-weekly X-Files rewatch pod. Do You Think I'm Spooky? We've also got our monthly Bring Me the Axe Millennium Edition, which is a bonus episode in which we look at modern horror movies made in the last 20 years or so. Our latest episode is still House of Wax.
A contemporary classic. American treasure.
A real test of patience. And coming up right around the corner, we've got Jamie Marks is Dead.
That's a hoot and a half.
Don't believe a word he says.
Nope.
And also, there's my bi-weekly DJ show, Radio Free Haddonfield. In weeks with Do You Think I'm Spooky is off. You can expect a surprising mixtape of everything from rock to disco to punk over there. All Patreon subscribers, even the free tier, get access to our Discord server. Paying members get access to additional channels, which voice and video chat, and the watch parties option. Come on in on Friday night, watch a movie with us. It's always the movie that we're covering for the podcast on Monday. We get together in the watch parties channel. We watch it on Friday night. It's a good time. Once again, that's patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. Lastly, if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube. Search us by name and subscribe if you prefer to consume your podcast that way. It's the audio pod. It's not the video pod. I feel like I need to make that clear when I talk about it.
Do people expect video?
I think they do. I mean, you go to YouTube and, what do? You watch video there. You see people, you see faces and shit. And it's just because Google got rid of Google Podcasts and they kind of just shifted the RSS feed over to their regular just YouTube. And
no, you're not getting video. You probably don't.
That's a hard road to hoe, man. I have a hard enough time getting this show out on time as is. And you'd be doing us a favor by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So that helps out too.
Yeah, tell me your favorite Slovakian children's film.
Yep, there's a whole galaxy to subscribe to. Yep, just takes a second, and it helps us out enormously. And if you listen on YouTube, do us a favor, give the episode a like, leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. Just want to get that all out of the way right at the top of the show, because we got a weird one today.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a little taste to give you a taste.
From the author of Blade Runner and Lady Hawk.
Jugger's coming! Jugger's coming! They're coming!
In a future ravaged by war, all eyes are on Juggers. Outcast champions playing a game of survival.
Punish him! Punish him!
This is the story of Kidda, who has heard tales of a world far better than the one fate has given her.
Is there really such a thing as soap?
She will do anything.
I got speed, I can run. I'll quick for you.
She will risk everything to be one of the Juggers. It is the story of Sallow, banished from a place of honor in the underground Red City because of a woman.
I like the blood of heroes.
Now, this woman will lead him back.
We could play a team from the league.
Theirs will be a journey through a gauntlet of time and trial.
Get her loose!
To that fabled city, where Sallow will challenge the Jugger who took his title.
He could lose that other eye easily enough.
Where Kidda will discover that the world of her dreams is no dream at all.
I don't want the attention of the league.
But I do.
Rutger Hauer.
It must be soft. Skin with no scars.
I like scars.
And Joan Chen of The Last Emperor.
They accepted the challenge! 100 slow! 3,
The Salute of the Jugger.
I wanted to win.
It's not over.
Well, if that's not a misleading trailer, I don't know what is.
I don't know. I feel like that covers it pretty closely.
Explain yourself. What is this film?
So that was a trailer for a movie called Salute of the Jugger, but I don't know where that was released as its title.
Australia.
Oh, really? All right. Because it's not really an Australian movie. It's just an Australian production. But it was released here and basically everywhere else as a movie called Blood of Heroes. And the story is basically about a team of people who play a sport, and they take on a young lady who wants to be on the team and go right to the top.
Yeah, this is a sports film masquerading as an action movie.
Yeah, that is. Or I was about to kind of go into that. Is it looks on the surface like a sort of post-apocalyptic, which it is, sort of Maxploitation action movie with a sport, but it really is like it's Slapshot or fucking it's Rollerball, really.
It is Rollerball. It is 100% Rollerball.
Is really what it is.
It reminded me of all of the post-apocalyptic Rollerball Italian ripoffs, like Endgame. There's the one I always want to call it Arena, but that's the
Charles Band one.
Yeah, but it's something like that. Like all those ones where it's like, it's a blood sport, it's a fight to the death. And it's like, it just reminds me of all those where like, yeah, but what's the point? To what end are you making this movie? And what is this? Where is this story going? Because this story goes fucking nowhere.
We watched this in the channel the other night, and it was probably the first time that I'd seen it since 1998 or 1999. And it always stuck out in my mind as a really interesting movie because this is a very late entry into the Maxploitation thing. Like by 1989, that shit was over.
And this didn't even get released in the US until 1990.
Yeah. And so it's like people would still go to them, but really the day of that kind of movie, that sort of post-apocalyptic, sort of dusty, barren wasteland kind of thing was the early 80s. And it was everything coming out on the heels of specifically The Road Warrior. And this is like way, way too late for that. Cause that's really just a little blip in the sort of exploitation film scene is 82 to maybe 85.
Yeah. This is Thunderdome, which is what, 83?
85. That was 1985. And that when it kind of ran out of gas, didn't feel relevant. All the movies that they kept coming out in that genre were sort of getting worse and worse. The Italians couldn't make them fast enough, and I think that was kind of part of the problem is in their haste to just capitalize on that shit as hard as they possibly could. They just seemed to sort of decline in quality quicker than like other sort of subgenres that they were trying to make money off of as quickly as they could. This one flamed out
if you watch
quickly. Those
movies though, if you watch the Italian ones, they all feel like the same movie.
Oh yeah,
like
it's always
you could
always
put
the
it
same
on.
thing. It's you know the man with no name treks across the wasteland with a mission to find the last drop of water, the last fertile woman, all this shit. This is definitely way different. It's also a movie of a much higher quality than I think people would be expecting in that, because those movies pretty fucking cheap.
So was this one though. They had a very small budget for this. They really make it work.
They really do make it work. It's a good looking movie, and a lot of it has to do with what I'll talk about when we get around to sort of production notes on it, because it's just they had the right people when they were making it. But unfortunately, at its heart, it hinges on a sport that is very poorly defined.
Oh yes.
It's not it's just, I have it really, it's like fucking Quidditch that way, I suppose, in that it's really, when you watch it, well, it's like Quidditch, except it's not shitty and transphobic.
Yeah.
It's a sport that seems to hinge on two players exclusively, while the other players on the team seem to be purely arbitrary. Like, I have no idea what the other players are really supposed to be doing.
If you look at it like it, I guess the closest real world analogy would be like hockey or football, where like essentially one person is trying to get the puck or the ball or whatever to the opposing side. But in those games, the whole team works to make that happen. In this game, it appears that one person is responsible for that, and the other members of their team are just sort of there
to beat up on each other.
Yeah, but they don't really do anything other than beat the shit out of each other, but for no reason. It's not like we're protecting this person. Occasionally this happens to like, so they can get to the goal or whatever it is. It's more like they're just sort of off on the side fighting each other. Yeah. So maybe it is a little bit like hockey.
Yeah, there's the main players, the quick, and they're the ones who and the way that the game is played is both teams square off. There is a dog's skull in the middle that one player, the quick, only one player is allowed to touch, and it's a position called the quick. So each one has the quick, and they're little people who tend to be very quick, right? That's hence the name. There's a slash, and they seem to just sort of square off against the other team's slash and beat up on one another. There's a back charge, and they sort of beat up on the other team's back charge. There's a drive, who also beats up on the other team's drive. And then there's that dude whose position is never really named, who just kind of swings a chain around.
Mm-hmm.
I think this movie could have been something if the sport were a little more detailed. It kind of feels like it was just called The Game in the script, and then the director and the stunt coordinator filled in the blanks on the set.
Yeah, I feel like that probably happened with a lot of the story, because this feels like a feature-length movie that is built off of maybe a short story, and they never really took the time to flesh that short story out to make it longer. Because the problem with the movie is that, and I think it's fine. It's a fine movie. It's entertaining, but it's there. You don't really understand. You never really learn to what end they're pursuing these things. Like the plot is essentially this roving band of sportiers. What do you call them?
They'd be, I don't know, a beer league hockey team.
Yeah, like they just sort of wander from town to town, playing against other roving bands of sportiers who travel from town to town. But you don't, like, that's it. That's the extent of the story. And then one of them is like, I want to be in the big league. But we never learn anything about the way that the trailer presents the movie is there's this big other world and it's fancy and there's a class stratification and all this stuff. And it's like, we don't ever actually get any of that. We get very, very little of it. Not enough to fill in the blanks ourselves, and not enough to make it feel like there is actual stakes going on here. They just a couple of them want to be in a league version of this game. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the story. Yeah. And then there's like some incidental shit that happens, and there's some backstory, but they never really fill in enough that it matters at all.
Yeah. It's a little hazy, which is weird, because it's a movie that was directed by a writer primarily,
and a weirdly successful one, but someone who has not written a lot. Like, he's written a lot of a bunch of shit that is celebrated, and rightly so. That's very well written stuff, but he hasn't written a ton of stuff. And this is the only movie he's directed.
Right.
And I think I know why.
Yeah. So let's talk about this movie a little bit. So this movie was released in 1989, year of our Lord. Mm. So here are some other movies that were released that year. Godzilla vs. Biollante came out.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a real good one.
That's a good one. That was the proper return of Godzilla, in spite of Return of Godzilla, which came out a few years before that. Cyborg came out in 1989. Speaking of,
that's a good one too.
post-nuke movies. Yeah, Albert Pune really carried that shit forward. Like everybody else was kind of done with making post-nuke movies. Not Albert. He was going to just keep on making them.
He was like, look, I make one thing and one thing only.
Yep. And
Jean-Claude Van Damme starring in post-apocalyptic film.
Yep. And also he's going to do one with Rutger Hauer a few years after this.
That's right.
Yeah. There's also Tetsuo the Iron Man in 1989.
Yuck.
That's a tough one to watch. That was one that I had that one in the early 90s on a tape without subtitles. And I thought to myself, man, if this movie ever comes out with subtitles, it can be great. I have no idea what's going on. And then a version with subtitles came out and I still had no idea what was going on. Nope. Also in 1989, Deep Star 6 came out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Was that the Sean Cunningham movie?
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. The alternative to Leviathan, the other monster underwater movie.
When you're making like a knockoff of a knockoff, it's that's rough stuff.
Yeah. And then closing out 1989, Shredder Orpheus came out.
Oh man. Speaking of rough stuff,
I've never seen it. That one always grabbed my attention on the video store shelves, and I never got around to actually renting it.
It is, I don't even really know how to describe it. It's cheap as hell. It is like it's a skateboarding movie in which none of the actors are actually skateboarders, and so they just all sort of roll around on them. It's kind of an adventure-ish movie. I don't know. It's fucking terrible.
What is it? Vinegar Syndrome put it out, didn't they?
I think,
or at least one of the partner labels, maybe.
CIP put it out, so it must have been distributed through them.
Yeah. Our director is a guy named David Peoples, who, like we said, primarily known as a screenwriter and an editor. Some of his credits are nuts. He was a co-writer of Blade Runner, the primary credit on Unforgiven, and 12 Monkeys.
Unforgiven.
Yeah.
Well, that was the one that I was just like, what, really?
Yeah. Yep. He fucking co-wrote Blade Runner, which is nuts.
He wrote Lady Hawk too.
He wrote Lady Hawk. Yeah, he's got a real, it makes sense that he was like, let's get Rutger Hauer for this one.
Yeah, because he's in both of those movies.
Yeah. But he also wrote some real fucking dogs. Like he wrote Leviathan and Soldier.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah, that's the, oh God, who made that one? That was, shit, no, I can't remember. But that's the one with Kurt Russell from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And to date, this is his only director credit, apart from a student film he made at UC Berkeley. At one time, he was scheduled to remake Lone Wolf and Cub for American audiences, but
no,
I know, but that project mercifully never saw the light. I mean, eventually, Lone Wolf and Cub is remade for American audiences. It's called Road to Perdition. But and The Mandalorian, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I feel like the Lone Wolf and Cub is so dependent on Japanese history and like particularly political history.
Oh yeah, it's like when we talked about that, when we talked about Sword of Vengeance, like I got real deep in the weeds of the sort of period of Japanese history that it takes place in.
Yeah, you can't really take it out of context. You may as well just make a new fucking movie.
No, and you know that they absolutely would have just been like, it's Japan, it's feudal Japan. Don't worry about the specifics.
Don't worry that they're all white. It doesn't matter. Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You like Tom Cruise?
Yeah, he was in The Last Samurai, remember?
Yeah, that little ponytail, little tiny ponytail.
Yep. So our cast, as we mentioned, Rutger Hauer, who we last saw on this pod as the relentless specter of C. Thomas Howell's latent homosexuality in The Witcher.
In another movie that was sort of like, that was a movie.
It was definitely one of the movies of all time.
Yep. If you wanted to make a movie, well, you sure made a movie.
Yep, this guy had one of the weirdest careers. Starting out in the world's movie imagination as one of sci-fi's greatest bad guys in Blade Runner, delivering one of the all-time greatest monologues. Here in 1989, he's on the downswing as he heads up in a lot of bizarre, low-budget science fiction and an American remake of Zatoichi.
Yeah. Oh, what is it? Blind Rage? Blind Fury?
Blind Rage. Is it Blind Fury? I think it's Blind Fury. Yeah.
That's not good. It's
is that
pretty
a movie
silly.
A comedy? Because the poster kind of makes it look like a comedy.
Well, Zatoichi has a lot of humor in it. As the series has a lot of humor in it. He's a very humorous character.
Yeah.
And he's a very like kind of good-natured character.
Yeah, it's like a drunken boxing movie, except it's a blind samurai.
But Rutger Hauer doesn't really pull it off because, he's a lot of things. Funny is not one of them.
Right.
And charming is not really one of them either. He's a very intense-looking man.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
like
he
this
only
movie
got
is
more
him,
intense.
This movie is him squarely in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, and he's a good actor. But there's not much to act here. Like, there's just not much story here.
Yeah. In a couple of years, he'll be appearing in Lazy Albert Pune Post Nukes and will flash his badge at a dog and call it Dickhead numerous times in the utterly bizarre monster movie Split Second.
Oh.
Which we should do Split Second at some point. That's a real weird botch of a movie. Also, we got Joan Chen, who had her pick of projects after her role in Bernardo Bertolucci's Oscar Machine, The Last Emperor.
And yet she chose this.
Yeah. And
Well, she also chose Twin Peaks.
Right, I was going to say, she decided to get real weird with it, pivoting to television to appear as Josie Packard, an out-of-towner way out of her element in Twin Peaks.
And she's great in that.
She is.
She's great in that show.
Yeah. And then
She is the foil to, what is her name there? Mr. Toshi.
Piper Laurie.
Yeah, Piper Laurie.
Yeah. And then appearing in this movie. She's still out there doing her thing, splitting her time between Western productions and appearing in movies and produced in Hong Kong. She's a very busy,
Yeah,
very busy
unfortunately,
lady.
she kind of hit a period where she got pigeonholed, I think, as like beautiful
exotic Asian lady.
Yeah, who plays opposite a brooding action star.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use star very loosely.
Right. Rounding it out, we got Vincent D'Onofrio. One of the most memorable parts of Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket is Gomer Pyle, the dude who can't hack it in basic training and shoots R. Lee Ermey before turning the gun on himself. This role also falls fairly early in a career of prolific acting and directing on his own in a cast that I'd say is fairly strong for a dusty post-apocalypse movie. He really stands out.
Yeah. I like Delroy Lindo. He's not in it enough, though.
I know. He was definitely one of the more compelling characters as well. Nowadays, you've likely seen him as the guy who really nails the Kingpin in the Disney Daredevil series.
He's also, he was on that Law and Order show for like 20 years.
Oh, shit, that's right. Criminal Intent? Was that the one he was
I think
on?
so. Yeah.
Yep. Ooh, we got a bunch of taglines for this one.
Yeah, we do.
Man, this was a proper video store movie. So here we go. The time will come when winning is everything.
Sure, I guess.
Yeah. Winning is everything. It's such a desperate situation here. And here we go. In a time when survival is the greatest struggle, winning is the greatest honor. And then there's this one. When Juggers play, there is only one way to live, the hard way. Yeah, and man, they hang on that word, Jugger.
Yeah.
Like the Australian release of this movie is called Salute of the Jugger. They really kind of expect you to know what that means.
Well, I think because it is a word that catches your attention. It feels extremely Australian.
Yes,
like it feels like Australian slang, which is maybe why they kind of keyed in on it. But yeah, it catches your attention because you're like, oh, what?
Also, yeah.
Juggalo?
Also, yeah. Nobody's doing any saluting in this movie.
No, not really. My favorite was the Italian one, which is the game of death no longer has rules. Like, I mean, I guess it doesn't seem like it ever had rules.
This is the last one I got. 2200 AD and games of death have no rules. Except this game very much has rules.
Yeah, I mean, a few. It doesn't have much structure, but it has rules.
Yeah, you gotta put the dog skull on the stick, and also the quick is the only person who can touch the dog skull.
And maybe the only person who matters in the context of the game.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, as we mentioned, produced in Australia, crewed by many of the same people who we have to thank for Mad Max. The stunts are all coordinated by a guy named Guy Norris, who is a legend in the industry and cut his teeth on The Road Warrior, which is, I believe, his very first like stunt coordination credit. And what a fucking movie that is.
Yeah, you get a lot of people flipping and falling and flying in that one.
Everybody just going crazy and shit in that movie. Yeah, cars blowing up, people flying through the air. People get hurt in that movie. It's nuts.
Yeah, they shot this whole movie in a town called Coober Pedy. And that's Coober space Pedy. And the only reason I am familiar with Coober Pedy is, have you ever seen Priscilla, Queen of the Desert?
Oh, yeah.
So they end up going to this like real outback, like stereotypical outback, very small village where they're like, what the fuck are we doing here? And it's that town that they end up in.
Oh, no shit. That's great.
Yeah. It's like a real backwoods, like deep in the outback, which is why they chose it, because it looks so alien.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Guy Norris eventually came back around to Mad Max for stunts on Fury Road, which, man, if the Road Warrior had some stunts going on it that were nuts, Fury Road is wild.
Yeah, you get a lot more flying and flipping and falling.
Just the craziest moving vehicle stunts I've ever seen. Like people dangling perilously close to the road as like cars just race along the desert.
We should have watched that movie. That's a real good movie.
It's a fucking great movie. Yeah. DP on the project was a guy named David Egby, who was also DP on the original Mad Max and chiefly responsible for the movie's extremely kinetic photography. And those low angle, like high speed shots of cars like racing up the highway.
I would say that serves him very well in this movie, because this is, I don't remember what movie we were talking about, but there's shooting for things like music and sports are very different. I think it was when we watched the Faculty.
Right.
Really
Rodriguez
brutal.
kept like he basically shoots the sports scenes very effectively in a way that other filmmakers are not, because we as we talked about it, like shooting for like sports footage, like sports reels, it's an entirely different discipline.
Yeah, and I think that really works here, because really all they have in this movie is I think they really kind of hung their hat on the action of the sport is really going to carry the movie, and it does to a certain extent, but it really only works because he's able to get in there and films it in a very exciting and compelling way.
Yeah. Yeah. He was also DP on Warlock.
Okay. A very different type of movie. That
Definitely
is
different.
not good.
Yeah. Boy, the game. It's called The Game. The game that they play. It was just created by Guy Norris and David Peoples, the director. Like we said, no idea really how the game is played.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, what's the objective? Dog skull. You got to get it to the other side." And they're like, "Okay, so it's football, it's hockey, it's soccer." Like, yeah. Except, what do the other people do? They beat the shit out of each other,
right? But still, this movie resonated strongly enough with enough people that there are people who actually play the game.
Yes, there was an international tournament.
Yeah.
Every year.
An international tournament. And there's like different rule sets, and depending on what country you're playing in, like they've got.
Now, how can you have an international tournament if you have different rules?
They have apparently standardized them to some degree.
Oh, this is like, well, in my house, we play Monopoly like this.
Right. You get all the money if you land on free parking and shit. No, yeah, it sounds like it's that, but like this game is played by enough people, and there's enough of a web presence for them to sort of get together and be like, okay, so this is how you actually play the game. And there's versions of it there that are really more about like, they've sort of probably had the same problem we have, where they're like, this looks really cool and it's very compelling, but like, what exactly is this sport? And so in the intervening years, they're like, okay, so this is actually what the game is about. And so in like most versions, everybody sort of plays a role to facilitate the quick's movement across the field. Whereas in this one, it's just people sort of clashing while the two quicks struggle. There's also a version that's much more, called Wasteland Jugger, that's much more like physical and violent, to be more like the movie.
Fun. You say this came about on the internet, huh?
Uh-huh.
Surprise.
Yeah. Yep. But
fucking dorks.
You got to get out there. You got to get out there and touch grass. Sometimes you got to touch grass while whipping up on somebody else.
I guess so.
Yeah. But was there any like, what the press think? Was there any of that?
I guess it was reviewed. Like I said, it came out in Australia first. And then it came out in the US like 6 months later or whatever. Maybe not 6 months, but a short time later. It did not do very well at the box office.
I saw the box office was like a 6-figure return, but I don't think that it had much of a release. This was a movie that did most of its business on videotape.
It had a pretty wide release, at least in cities. I don't know what it was like in the suburbs, but it had a wide enough release that it was in most of the major cities.
The major cities get everything.
But it did end up, the return was really VHS, not surprisingly. But for the most part, people liked it ish. They thought it was fine. I'm going to hit you with some reviews. Here's my boy Vinny Canby. It's anybody's guess why this nightmare vision should continue to be so fascinating to movie audiences and movie makers. This is in reference to post-apocalyptic, landscapes and whatnot. Maybe it's because it is the material of legend updated to accommodate a precarious present. Whatever the reason, it's extremely photogenic. Like Federico Fellini, Mr. Peoples and his associates seem to have had a grand old time creating a terrible new world virtually from scratch. Now, this speaks nothing to the movie itself. I just like that he was like, like Fellini. This movie is like Fellini's movies.
I think I read that one too. I think he's specifically pointing out Satyricon, which is a different kind of Fellini
That's true.
movie.
That is true. It's a sexy Fellini movie. The reason I like this one is though he does make. I like that he is essentially asking, why does this framework, this post-apocalyptic framework, persist in the 80s? And it's an interesting question. And I think the answer is obvious if nuanced, in that like there was this fear, that lingering Cold War fear.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what he's hinting at, is like the idea that we could all suffer some great obliteration and be left with this.
Right.
And that was sort of why. And then I think by 1990, people were like, let's leave the 80s behind us. It's a bold new world. Well, once we get past Bush, it's a bold new world.
Right. Because that is something to be said about that is we had been really dealing with the threat of nuclear war properly. I mean, really since the end of the World War II, but I mean, really that began with the 60s. When the Cuban Missile Crisis kind of made it obvious, like how close to the edge we were. But,
right, like it could be a reality, because I think the insulation of being so far away from World War II, people were like, but it could never actually happen here. It was like, well, actually, it could.
Right. I mean, like in the 70s, there was a ton of like escalation, and then in the 80s, specifically with Ronald Reagan, the amount of fucking brinksmanship and saber rattling that happened there made it feel very like made it feel imminent, like inevitable, like we were about to face the fucking eschaton.
When in reality, it was like you were further from it at that point than probably they had ever been in the last, in the 20th century.
Yeah. I mean, like they had that what is that? The atomic clock, the doomsday clock.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I mean, like we are closer to midnight now than we were then.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah. But that reached a crescendo sort of 85. And then we started to sort of, I don't know. I believe it was really kind of the Gorbachev effect as we approached perestroika, where things in Russia started to kind of come undone.
Yeah, because everyone was like, "Oh, you're the enemy?"
Well, yeah. I mean, also they were facing a terrible, terrible economic collapse as the direct result of fucking Afghanistan. So,
see our X-Files show, and I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, but so by the time this movie comes out, that fascination with Armageddon was really on the wane. But it does come back because 20 something years later, we're going to be doing that again with the fucking Walking Dead and this endless parade of people surviving the zombie apocalypse.
Well, right. Because what happened? We went through 9/11 and then endless war.
Yeah.
And I think that we are back to a place where homeland war seems not inevitable, but entirely possible.
Yeah. It's on the horizon.
Yeah.
Just over that ridge over there.
That's bleak. So Vincent Canby actually, he kind of liked it in that, like, it's an exciting movie and it was a fine watch, which is going to be the consensus here. But here's the Baltimore Sun. There's just enough plot to keep the movie going behind game days. Hauer is an old pro, full of scars and regret, with just barely hinted at past. Lithe and graceful Chen is a villager with talent enough for the big leagues. That's it. That's the movie. I like that one because it's like he's really feeling himself there with the pros, I think.
Yeah.
He's an old pro full of scars and regret.
I love that. It is funny that everybody's like, yeah, that's good.
That, and again, that is going to be the consensus.
Yeah, at the end, they're like, hey, what'd you think of the movie? It's good.
There's Kevin Thomas, Los Angeles Times. In his feature directorial debut, and his only one, Peebles takes his story so seriously that not only is it numbing in its display of carnage, but also faintly silly. Even so, the film has sufficient style and drive to attract audiences who like their action very, very hard. What I like about this review is he's like, so if you like movies like this, you're going to like this movie.
Yeah. And what's funny is this is kind of the reaction that we came to on the other side of the movie when we watched it in the Discord the other night. Is we were like, well, shit, maybe I will pre-order that Umbrella release that's coming out in August.
I kind of wish that it was already out because I'm sure there would have been a lot more.
That is something that I failed to mention up top was the available versions of this movie are, I would have said a ways back that this was kind of a tough movie to catch up with, but no, it's on Tubi. It's just the available release fucking sucks.
Oh, Tubi.
It's,
you beautiful bastards.
Oh, I know. Just bring solid gold to the world.
This show is not brought to you by Tubi, but it could be if you hear me now, Tubi.
I'm gonna tag them in all the social posts. Mm-hmm. Like when I tried to get Cheerwine to fucking sponsor us.
Those bastards.
I know. What the hell? It's probably because you keep calling it toilet wine. And they're like, no.
Well, that's not my fault. They're the ones making it. Finally, we have one more from Mike McGrady of Newsday. That paper of record. Although I am no fan of action movies, and believe me, Blood of Heroes is purest, bloodiest action, I am a fan of original visions. This is one of the most original movies since The Road Warrior. Human beings may lose everything, but they do not lose their will to survive, their drive to triumph. This is what makes Blood of Heroes a memorable action movie. Now, okay, calm down, Mike McGrady.
It sounds like he really enjoyed it.
It's like 1984. It's the classic work of the cinema. I will say, for a movie that is light on plot, I do think they do a very good job of giving us enough backstory and enough lore that we can sort of fill out the rest. It doesn't do much to get us to the point of the movie, but we can sort of build our own world off of what they give us, which is, I think, a sign of very good writing. Which is maybe he should have just stuck to that.
I think that's really what it is he directed one movie and again, not a bad movie. It's a very good looking movie. It's a very enjoyable movie. The action it's paced pretty well. The action is snappy and it's violent and it was critically received very well. So honestly, I think that he got done with this project and was like, okay, maybe directing isn't really my thing. It's
like Charles Lawton, where he's like, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make one of the greatest movies ever made. And then I'm going to be like, you know what? Directing's not for me.
Yeah.
More of an actor.
Goddamn. Night of the Hunter fucking rules. I watched that like a couple of months ago.
Great movie.
Great movie. Goddamn.
I mean, despite Shelley Winters. So that was everybody really kind of liked it, but I agree with a lot of the things that most of them are saying is like it's a fantasy of a different kind, and it is original in its way. They don't give you a lot, but they do a lot with what they have, and you're able to fill in. Like when we watched the Hitcher, That's the opposite of this, where it's like you have to go above and beyond to figure out a story that makes sense.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah.
here they're like,
that one,
here's
that
the
episode
pieces.
of the podcast, I am bending over backwards to make a coherent story out of that fucking movie.
Meanwhile, I just call it what it is, not a good movie. But this is the opposite in that they're giving you just enough that you know where to kind of put everything. And you're like, oh yeah, I get this. I have enough cultural touch points that I can take what they've given me and sort of fill it out.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't do much to help with like an actual plot, but the world that you build based on what they present to you with very little resources, I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. So shall we?
We must.
All right. So we open on a title card that sets the stage. Humanity has forgotten the good times before they were living like animals to carve out a desperate life on the wastes.
I'm actually going to quote the whole thing because I think it's really good. Yeah. It is a text on screen. People no longer remembered the golden age of the 20th century. They didn't remember the miraculous technology or the cruel wars that followed. They didn't remember when Juggers first played the game or how it came to be played with a dog skull. That is fucking brilliant writing.
It's cool. It does. And it sets the stage, man. Like they've just lived in the dirt for so long and that like the cultural memory has forgotten.
God, how it came to be played with a dog skull is, I'm in.
Yeah.
Tell me something else.
I know.
Tell me
I love
anything
that
else.
because you could tell like that was something he probably came up with. Like that was the impetus for the game was he was like, all right, well, do they play with a ball? It's like, well, no, we're living in this sort of like grimy, desperate wasteland. They play this game with a skull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's a jugger, you might ask? Shh. Don't ask so many questions.
Who's to say, really? Yeah. You know, am I a jugger? Are you a jugger? Who gets to decide?
In our hearts, at the end of the day, we're all juggers.
Yeah, it's like we're all really, in the end, a member of Wu-Tang Clan.
So on the barren brush of the post-apocalyptic wastes, a group of juggers rise over the horizon.
Holy shit, is it the most desiccated landscape I've ever seen?
It is wild. And that is the thing is a lot of the interior of Australia has that look about it. It's sort of like Iceland that way, where like if you ever look at a map of Iceland, like most of the settlements are on the coast of the nation.
Yeah, because the interior is all a volcano.
Yeah, it's completely inhospitable. And so it's very similar in that way where it's like it looks like another planet.
Yeah, it's a very alien landscape. And I think that's probably why when they opened up all these sort of tax credits, that's why you end up with so many sci-fi movies and kind of like not just post-apocalyptic, but like, science fiction and action. And like, it's because that landscape is really right for it.
Yeah, you could go there. Like if you want to make a movie set on Mars, like that's Australia, like the outback of Australia is the place to be there. Like the Queen Victoria Desert or something like that. It is a location unlike any other. So
yes,
yeah.
Also, it will kill you.
Yeah. A nearby kid gets all excited, starts yelling that the juggers are coming. And so the juggers make their way through a tent city full of bent survivors just scratching out a desperate living.
The killers are coming.
God, yeah. So the kid runs through a field of sticks, maybe, where a young woman chops at the sticks to harvest whatever it is they're for.
Sticks.
Juggers are players of a game that everyone just calls the game, presumably because it's the only game that anybody plays. And we're about to find out.
How many head of sticks do you have?
All right, maybe that's what she does. She harvests the sticks that you stick the dog skull on.
Okay.
And so like years of just like harvesting this, she looks at him and she's like, one day I'm gonna put a dog skull on one of these sticks.
I mean, she's got a lot of sticks. She could do it now. She doesn't have to wait.
Yep. And so, like we said, we're about to find out how this game is played as a rival team of juggers meets them on a dusty field. Both teams of badly scarred players suit up in their makeshift armor made mostly from tires, while the locals set up the field. They stuff two stakes in the opposite ends. Juggers are armed with hook sticks and with weighted ends. Two players wield these crazy chain ladders that they swing over their heads. And two other dudes face off unarmed with a dog skull placed between them.
And one of these ladies has cornrows and she's white. And my note literally says, oh no, a white lady with cornrows.
You see that a lot in MMA also, because it gives you less to grab.
I guess so. Yeah. You could just cut it. It's not like having cornrows is more ladylike.
To time the game, some dude is going to stand there, throw rocks at a metal plate until he's thrown 3 sets of 100.
And yeah, there's no like, what are the increments of time between throw? Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't need to, but it kind of bothers me. Oh, I forgot to mention so if you notice this has a really long opening credits for some reason. But there is a US casting agent and an Australian casting agent, which to me implies that the US people they just didn't know how to communicate with Australians. I don't speak your language.
Yeah. So when the first stone is thrown, the teams go at each other. The 2 dudes in the middle lurch for the skull and struggle against one another while the other players just beat the shit out of one another. And the crowd goes ape.
I mean, I want to say costumes. That's not right.
They're uniforms.
They're uniforms, I guess. They look pretty gnarly. Yeah. Like white cornrows kind of looks like the Zodiac killer.
Right.
She has like a weird hood.
Like a rubber hood over her face.
Yeah, like they don't look like they're going to do a lot of protecting, but they look intimidating. Oh, also, it occurred to me while I started this out, do you know, I am almost certain what inspired this? American Gladiators.
Oh, God, yeah.
This is American Gladiators, the movie.
When I would have loved to look that up because American Gladiators probably started right around this time.
I'm going to guess 87, 88.
Probably. Yeah, you know what this game needed? A fucking tennis ball gun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
I mean, honestly, that's what every game needs.
That, yeah, like a rollerball where they've got a guy who rides a motorcycle for some reason.
1989.
All right. So it's coincidental.
But it was a concept from 1983.
Ooh, okay. We're getting there.
So.
All right. So the young woman in the stick field looks off to the game longingly and then runs off to watch it. The dude with the chain is meant to cover the quick, I guess, the guy who runs with the dog skull, but our hero's team features a chain dude who isn't so good at it. That's
No, Vincent D'Onofrio sucks at this.
Yeah, he whiffs on his attack, and the other team capitalizes by whipping the quick's legs with the chain. There's more fighting, and an attack knocks the helmet off our main guy, a dude named Sallow, played by Rutger Hauer.
Why does he have a compass like embedded in his head?
So that's the tattoo. Oh, he's got a league tattoo, they keep saying. That's the league tattoo, because at the end, Kidda has it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Compass?
Doesn't really look like a tattoo. It's more like a brand.
Looks like an implant.
Yep. He's got a tattoo on his forehead that identifies him as a jugger that played in the league, which, you know, is a thing that we're going to learn about a little later on. It's a station of much prestige.
I guess.
Yeah. Our team's quick is a guy named Dogboy. He gets up after having his legs fucked up, tries to get the skull to the stick, but he's held off by the opposing quick until the first 100 stones are thrown.
It's brutal. The leg breaking moment is really rough.
Yeah. When the team rests between rounds, they check in with their quick, who is badly fucked up but swears he can make it. And then the other team's quick, meanwhile, is pretty much dead and carried off the field. The lady from the field, a woman named Kidda, gears up to take his place.
She's doing mountain climbers in the back.
Just limbering up, gotta get
going
loose
for it.
Yeah. And they square off for another round. I do like the way that she talks to the guy. Like she's pretty intimidating for like such a little lady.
So I'm going to have a problem with this character later for reasons I'm sure you can figure out, but they present her in a way that is, I think, very different for the time. Like I said earlier, she ends up, Joan Chen ends up falling into this kind of, she gets pigeonholed as a particular kind of actor. But here she's really presented as this kind of like rough, badass. Like she's obviously a stunningly beautiful woman. Like no matter what, you could fucking cut off her arms and like slash her face up and you'd still be like, it's Josie Packard from, like, she's a gorgeous woman. And yet she comes across as an action hero. Yeah. They don't try to sell her as meek or as sort of overly feminine. Like she is a little tomboyish. Like she has short hair. Like, but I think she always does. But they're going to betray that later on, and I think that's why I was super disappointed.
All right.
Because it's not in the late 80s. You don't get characters like this where it's like
she's a little alien. She's a little Ellen Ripley.
Yeah,
You know, that
like
way.
she takes no shit. Like she's confident, and that's fantastic. They can't really maintain it though.
So, Kidda fights Dog Boy for the skull, bashes it out of his hands, breaks his badly injured leg.
It's a real yuck moment.
As she runs for the stick, but catches the chain in the face and then gets knocked down by Sallow, who finishes her off.
Why would you want to be the quick? That you get the shit kicked out of you?
That's the prestige spot, because you're the one who wins the game.
Now, see, I think here's one of my main issues is like, why play the game at all? Like they don't I guess you can infer from all the context that like this is a way to survive and get paid.
Yeah.
And that's about it. But like, I don't know, be a fucking stick farmer, you know? Like nobody's slashing out your eyes.
It's a different kind of lifestyle.
Like they never do enough to tell us what's on the other end.
Yeah.
Like what is the objective here? Why are you struggling so hard to become a league player? What does that mean? They sort of hint at it, and then I imagine
spoken of like, ooh, the league, and so
Yeah,
like
they-
that's kind of doing a lot of heavy lifting. It's just the implication that there is actually an ordered type of play, and that
Right.
those people are like professional athletes in the sense that,
and then
like,
but then when you do see them, you're like, oh, they're just like the other teams. They
except their
pretty
equipment's
much
better.
a little bit better, but like it's doing heavy lifting, but lifting of what? Like they never really tell us, and maybe that's just a matter of budget. Like they didn't have a way to show you what this spectacular life would have looked like because they didn't have any fucking money.
Also, one of this movie's curses, one of the reasons why it sort of sank like a stone upon release is, you know, despite being a critically well-received movie that was made by a very, very capable crew, is this movie was constantly being re-edited. And so there are like a bunch, I don't want to say like a million or like dozens of cuts, but there are enough different cuts of this movie that like you could make a sort of like a Dawn of the Dead supercut, like in the way that there's that like super long version of Dawn of the Dead that has like all the different edits all kind of compiled into one movie. You could probably do that with this movie as well and have something that runs closer to like 2.5 hours.
I mean, I would be interested in seeing it. It's compelling enough that I would like to see what maybe he had intended to do.
Well, you can, coming up in August, thanks to Umbrella.
Not for $140, I'm not.
That package is outrageous.
Thanks, Donald Trump.
So yeah, the reason that she couldn't play any other position is she's a little lady. The Quicks are always very small people, you know.
Cornrows is a little bit bigger.
Big Kimber is her name, I think.
Oh Lord!
Yeah.
You're telling me this is not an Australian movie? Juggers and Kimber.
Yeah. The teams help each other out at the end of it, demonstrate some proper sportsmanship, having kicked the crap out of one another to a sufficient degree.
Yeah, it's like the end of a Little League game. Except, you know, you broke each other's legs and ripped out an eye.
Yeah. I'll limp off the field and Kidda's parents carry her off. And so now, by night, the town puts on a crazy party for the Juggers with some post-apocalyptic Zydeco music.
Yeah, nothing a little Zydeco can't fix.
And some fucking.
Oh, yeah, a lot of that, too.
Yeah. Everyone donates a little money to the winning team in the form of bits of metal like the bottle caps from Fallout.
Yeah, I was like, this is what I imagine America in 2029 will be like. We're all just paying tribute to a dog skull.
Yeah, that, like, I'm gonna throw some, like, fucking lug nuts and, you know, sockets into a bucket as money.
Did you play the Mad Max game for Xbox?
Oh no, I never got around to that one.
I believe if I remember correctly, your money in that game is like bolts and you know shit like that.
Yep. Kidda's mom busts her chops about playing the game, but her big dream is to go to the Red City and get noticed by the league, where she'll have it made.
And the Red City, I think the way they talk about the Red City is like it's like the city of Oz.
Yeah.
They get there and everything's gonna be gold plated. And it's like they get there and it looks like a fucking prison.
Oh, it's Bartertown from Thunderdome.
Yeah.
So the team's manager, a guy named Gandhi, sews up Mabulu, the team's back drive, whatever that means. Dog Boy is basically finished. He's sure he'll be better in the morning, but he
says it'll be better in the morning. My note says, no, sir, I don't think it will be.
His legs are fucked up, man. Because we see him get whipped with that chain like a bunch of times. And every time I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, I think you can tell where most of the money went. Yeah. And the makeup and the applications in this movie look like shit.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
They're pretty bad.
Yep. In the morning, when the partying is over, they'll be back on the road looking for another game. So when morning comes, they leave town, headed back out on the wastes. Dog Boy is barely keeping up. Kidda packs up her shit and heads out, hot on their tail.
One dude's got a fucking whole wardrobe on his back.
Oh, I love that. That's such a cool thing where it's Gandhi, and he's got like a cabinet, an entire like curio cabinet just strapped to his back that contains all their gear.
And these are the touches that really make the world building a lot easier. Like they're not giving you a lot because they don't have a lot to work with, but they make the most of it with shit like this, where it's just like, oh, okay, I can see that, and I can envision the rest of the people wandering this kind of waste.
Yeah,
also because
I do think that a lot of the appeal of the post nukes that work, that are legitimately good movies, they work because there's a lot of detail in them.
Yeah.
That sort of suggests other shit happening. Like you would never get something like this from a Fabrizio De Angelis movie.
No, because it all takes place in one location. And it's the same location that you've seen in 7 other movies.
Right.
Literally the same. But we also at this, today we're coming off of like 40 years of, post-apocalyptic shit. But at this time, they're still coming off 10 years of it. So you can envision the stuff you've seen in Star Wars or the stuff you've seen in Mad Max, and you can sort of like they're really allowing those references to do some of the work, but they're doing it in a very smart way.
Yeah. So she then tells him, Kidda, that Dog Boy is fucked, and he impotently lashes out at her to prove her point.
How cold-blooded is it? She destroys his leg and then she tries to steal his job. And then on top of that, she mocks him.
That's the game, man. That's the game. Everybody plays. Sometimes
I don't know. On the field, you gotta leave it on the field.
Yeah.
As you leave it on the dance floor, as Rutger Hauer taught me. Everyone else, it's all fun and games, but here she is being a jerk about it.
Yeah. She's determined. And she's not wrong. Like he's basically dead if they fucking leave that guy behind. So she then demonstrates her style while Sallow insists that he'll be fine, but he is not fine.
Letting it be known.
She keeps on chasing them in spite of this. Was that a Madball reference?
Yes, it was.
I did that on purpose too. Some distance later, they're stopped on the road by some dudes in black coats getting out of a post-apocalypse road warrior vehicle.
It really is. It's like Elon and Big Balls rolling up in this fucking horrible Cybertruck. My note says it's clear where their money didn't go.
Yeah, oh, God, that thing looks like they just glued some shit onto a golf cart.
Yeah, this is like high school level play type
This is
stuff.
definitely Warriors of the Wasteland level vehicle building for the post-apocalypse.
Yes. Speaking of movies they used 7 times.
So yeah, they force everyone to their knees and shake them down for all their bottle caps and tell them that they're going to get their asses kicked in the next town.
Now, this is a bit of so where the wardrobe on his back is a huge win. This is a bit of a fail because we don't really know who these people are or why they're doing this and where they're going. Like, we understand that they are to be feared, if not revered, but why and where they came from, like we don't really get any hint at that.
Yeah,
we can assume
it's an attempt to sort of seed a little bit of future plot, but I think it falls a little early, and they don't give you enough to sort of let you know why these guys have the sort of wield the power that they do.
Yeah, you can't use Chekhov's douchebags. Like you gotta put them in somewhere else too, so I know who they are, because you can't. They just show up, rob them essentially and then leave.
Yeah, it's table setting for later to imply that what's left of the world is run by a body known as the Nine Kingdoms, and these cops are basically enforcers of that body.
And I think that's really what we needed to see is more of people wandering, like wandering the wastes. Like we see towns, we see like little villages where they go to play the game, but outside of that, it's just them wandering from town to town. We don't see other Jugger teams really until the end.
Yeah.
And then we just see these other two guys, and it's sort of just like, where's everybody else? And why are you two the only ones out roaming around? Like, I don't know. We needed to see some other people get hassled. Something to make this make sense.
Yeah. Then Dog Boy faces facts. Dude can't stand up, so he can't play. So they give him his share of the food and water, and they leave him behind.
This is after after she. Oh no, they're about to train, right?
Yeah. Up on the ridge, Sallow sees Kidda still watching them, and she eventually joins the crew. But first, they got to test her out.
And Rutger Hauer is wearing a pink mesh tank top that is a choice.
So now Sallow, Mabulu, and Big Kimber, the team's drive, again, whatever that means, square off and have her try to get past them. And she doesn't do so well.
Now I was fully expecting a montage here.
Oh, we
like
get a montage, just not here.
Because I was like, oh, thank God they didn't do a montage. That would have been so on brand, and they do one later.
Yep. So they have Gar, the chain guy, come down and protect her while she attempts to break through. As they play, they get better. Imagine. Practice.
I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio doesn't really ever get better. He's just not good at the game.
The Juggers make it to the next shithole where they suit up to take on the local Juggers, whose team features a massive dude with one eye. Kidda and the other Quicks square off, and when the rock is thrown, they go at it. She immediately takes an elbow to the face, but recovers nicely and gets on the Quick. They struggle in slow motion while the rest of the team does its thing, just whipping each other's ass.
Mm-hmm.
So Kidda takes the Quicks back, which is bad news. Then she gives him the old Mike Tyson signature move, biting his ear off and spitting it out.
It is. She is committed to the game.
Yeah. Kidda takes cover under Gar's net and then makes a run for it, but the Quick catches up and holds her off. So Gar sweeps the leg and throws the Quick off of her so she can spike the skull and win the game. That night, during the big party, Gandhi sews up Kidda. She wants to know why Sallow is playing in the Bush Leagues now. When he used to be a league player, he used to party down with an elegant lady in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes, in the city where they bathe you in oils and feed you with candied fishes.
That sounds
to be honest,
gross.
That sounds disgusting.
That sounds gross, man.
I don't like either
later
one
on,
of those.
we are going to see what they eat in the big city, and give me the candied fishes.
Yeah, it's not candied fishes.
Nope.
I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, so it turns out Sallow wasn't discreet, and he insulted this lord in the city. Then they threw him out for being such a jerk to him. Now we get a montage.
Yep.
Great shots of the Juggers playing in different settings. Golden hour shots, games in the rain. It's all going great. So now they party down with some more post-apocalyptic jazz in another town. Everybody pairs off or doubles up with the locals, but Gar can't find anyone, so he kicks it with Kidda. And they really seem to be enjoying themselves.
Because there's like a row of dudes, and she looks over at them, and they're like 12-year-old boys.
They're all like
13.
super skinny, like malnourished boys.
Yeah, and she like looks at them and kind of is not interested, and then she looks over at Vincent D'Onofrio, and the look she gives him is this really like, oh, fine kind of look. It's really great.
Yep. In walks Sallow, who is drunk and gives him a hard time for pairing up because you're not supposed to do that.
Being a real pervert.
Right, because he stands there watching him for a while. It's like, what are you doing, dude?
But then he blows a raspberry at them, and it's kind of funny.
Then she has him tell her about the league players. These Bush League players don't hold a candle. The league Juggers are basically killers, and she doubts herself in this moment. What if you're not good enough, she says. He says, you find out. And then he passes out, which is a great line. I like that.
I mean, this movie, the writing is doing a lot of the work, but I think Rutger Hauer and Joan Chen are also like it's a real triad. The
Right.
three things.
When he's in his element and he can just sort of like hiss his lines, he's great. Oh my
Was
God.
he a difficult person? He seems like he might have been a difficult
I don't
person to
know.
work with.
I've never heard a bad word about the guy. I think
It
he
seems-
just made some like really kind of not bad career choices. Cause I would imagine after Blade Runner, he could sort of take his pick of whatever he wanted.
Yeah, I mean, he's awesome in that movie. He looks great. And like, I don't know. It just seems like he as the 80s progressed, he just kind of kept sliding.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he does recover and sort of ends up in some just like properly, I don't know, quality movies, but like his sort of descent into the 80s and through the 90s is like, what is going on? What, fire your agent, man.
Yeah, I mean, if Lance Hendrickson can maintain and sustain a career like his, there's no reason why he couldn't have.
Right. So now they fight another match in another town, and in this one, Sallow catches a swinging chain to his eye, which destroys it. As he sews it up, Gandhi tells Sallow that the further north they go, the harder the matches get. He tries to dissuade him from going to those places, but Sallow is set on it. As they walk, Kidda talks to Sallow about going to the city and challenging the Juggers there. That's how you get noticed and brought in. It's how Sallow was brought in. He tells her to stop thinking about it because they won't accept their challenge. Yeah.
I wonder why. Mystery.
Yeah. The next town brings no challenge at all, as a matter of fact. Juggers kick the shit out of them. They're disappointed that the game ended so quickly.
20 stones.
20
as a matter of
stones.
fact.
Why bother?
Mm-hmm.
Gar says they're too good, like a league team. And then everybody laughs.
Oh, Gar. You precious fool.
He's just the village idiot, a sweet summer child.
Mm-hmm. You silly, silly fool.
Kidda suggests that they go to the city and that one of them make the challenge instead of Sallow. He thinks that they won't accept the challenge because of what he did when he was in the city. So the next morning, Gandhi sees Sallow walking north in the direction of the Red City, where they definitely won't accept their challenge. Big Kimber and Mabulu refuse to go to the city because the league teams will shatter them.
That's right. They'll break our brains and smash our bones.
Gar and Kidda go with him without reservation because that's what they want. So Sallow walks away, vowing to fill the empty spots with players from another town.
But they can't let him do it. It's an all-for-one kind of thing.
Right, because here they come after a little while of walking. Just Big Kimber and Mabulu come walking over the ridge, and everybody rejoices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when they reach the city, there's a long line of peasants waiting by a small metal shack. And every once in a while, they let a few of them in. While they wait, Gar asks Sallow if they can win. The word is that no challenger has ever beaten the league team in a challenge. Maybe.
Yeah, how do you think the movie's going to end?
Maybe they can win or just go the distance. Sallow explains that the match that won him the spot in the league only went 26 stones. The only team that was ever able to go that far.
And it was his team.
Yeah.
I do like the shack thing. I think that's another one of those really neat touches where, like, you think they're going, like I said, you think they're going to come upon this, like, you know, golden city where everything's beautiful and shiny and clean. And you walk up and it's basically like a mining camp where you go down in this shaft to an underground city.
Yeah.
That is a prison, basically.
So when it's their turn, the Juggers are admitted to the shack. That turns out to be an elevator that will take them down to the Red City, which is dug out underground. As the elevator descends, we see the different levels of the city, and it seems to take forever to get them where they're going. And when they finally arrive, they find a sprawling city underground. The rabble make their livings in a squalid hive, while the upper levels of society occupy the higher levels, looking down on the peasantry. Everyone appears to be feasting on dog meat.
Mm-hmm.
And Gandhi orders food while Sallow slips off to see the local Juggers. Kidda goes with him.
And it's kind of, I do like this moment where, like, they're walking down this hallway because she's following him, and they're walking down, and it's like, I don't know what, maybe she, like myself, was expecting something big and glorious, but like, it is just, she gets this look at what the league is like, and it is just a parade of horrors.
It is, because they're dragging out all the players of the opposing team who are in bad shape.
Mm.
So they arrive in time to see people dragging Juggers off the field and tending to their wounds. They're very fucked up. The remaining Juggers gang up on the challenging Quick and beat the absolute shit out of him.
I mean, this is basically what I imagine life in Australia is really like.
It's where rugby reigns supreme.
Mm-hmm.
The Red City team wins easily to the delight of the crowd and the approving glances of the city nobles.
Now, what you really got to do if you want to rise in the ranks, first you have to play an entire team of kangaroos.
Yeah, I mean that's in all of the tourist guides. It's
actually in the Jugger rule book.
And all of the kangaroos wear boxing gloves.
Mm-hmm. And they look at you with a side eye. Like my favorite GIF to send is just this like kangaroo eating something, looking down the barrel of a camera. He looks so disapproving.
So the winners walk off and are received by the nobles, led by a dude named Lord Vile, played by Hugh Keys Byrne, who played the toe cutter in Mad Max and Immortan Joe in Fury Road. And like a million other action movies in Australia. Yes. Yeah. His elegant lady wipes a little blood off the winning juggers and tastes it.
Mm. And then she says, I like the blood of heroes.
Ah, they say the thing.
Yeah, I know. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, that's a little later on in the movie, but yeah, that she does say the name. So Sallow greets the winning team captain, a guy named Gonzo, with an exposed metal plate in his head. Gonzo is a soft-spoken guy in spite of his size. He tells him that they intend a challenge, but Gonzo tells him that they will never accept that. Also, having seen what the League Juggers do to the challengers, Kidda begins to waver. She worries that Sallow will get hurt very badly, taking these guys on with only one eye, but he is determined to take him on. And
it's also it's too late to back out now.
I know, this was your idea, Kidda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's determined, if just to prove a point to the nobility. So the Juggers make their challenge, presenting themselves with their winning skulls to the League. Gar attempts to impress them with his skills, but the League is unmoved and he sheepishly slinks away.
It's extremely embarrassing.
I know, I felt for him.
Now, I don't really understand what they're looking for in the skulls.
I think, again, I think the skulls are kind of like the hand in Talk to Me, where they're game-winning skulls. It's kind of like when you get the winning football for like the Super Bowl and shit. It's got
because they're like inspecting them.
Yeah, they're looking at them because there's also shit written on them. And I think it's like either other team symbols or like the name of the towns they played in or something like that, just to sort of prove to them that they win a lot.
Okay. See, that's another one of those things where like it's an easy fix.
Could have been closer. So, Sallow tries to hide out in the shadows to hide his identity, but Lord Vile clocks him immediately, points him out to the League officials.
Yeah, because he's Rutger fucking Hauer. It's not like
you
don't blend in with the crowd.
He's looking like Max von Sydow in the Seventh Seal.
Mm-hmm.
The officials then dismiss them and will let them know what they decide. So now, thinking they refused, Sallow slips off to sulk. And Kidda catches...
Or what I thought was at first peeing in the alley, because that's what it looks and sounds like.
Again, it's because the available versions of this movie are so dark.
Oh my God, they're muddy as fuck.
A lot of this movie is shot in the darkness, and oh man, it is... This upcoming version is going to be a humongous improvement over what is available now, because it is sometimes pretty tough to tell what's going on. Kidda catches up with him, and he encourages her to find another team. So together, they find a spot to sleep for the night and ended up in this weird-ass hotel that gives me a fucking anxiety attack.
Yeah, you really take your life in your hands when you check into this hotel.
They have to climb a tall ladder and shimmy along a narrow ledge to reach a cot that is basically dangling off the side of this like super tall wall.
It's like when you see mountain climbers and they are like, like the ones who do like the big things and they just sleep on the side of the mountain in like a fucking hanging tent.
Oh man, if you are an active, somebody who moves around in your sleep a lot, you are fucking dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Some people sleep, some look dead, others cook. It's a whole thing and it looks extremely dangerous.
I mean, it's life in Trump's America.
So Kidda keeps going on and on about silk. She keeps talking about fucking silk. Because Gandhi told her about silk earlier. It's like someone's breath on your cheek.
And again, great writing. The problem here, this is how you know it's written by a dude.
Is the lady just wants that silk.
Yeah, she has been this tough chick for the entire movie. Now all of a sudden she's just a lady.
Yeah.
You know, she likes the finer things in life. And one of those finer things might be Rutger Hauer. And I was like, you fucking blew it, man. You had it. You had it and you blew it. You betrayed us and you betrayed them. You didn't just fail. You obliterated the Bechdel test.
Right.
My note just says, I hate you.
Because those two knock boots on the edge, dangling perilously off of this cliff wall.
Yeah, look, everybody likes sex, but there's a time and a place. Hanging off the side of a mountain is not one of them.
Listen, maybe the danger is part of the excitement.
I guess.
So interlude. The city nobility attends a party and eats the meat off a big monitor lizard. It's super gross.
Yeah.
Lord Vile compliments Gonzo for his performance at the match today. He informs him that they'll be playing against Sallow's Juggers at the challenge match. Vile insisted that they play, and not just that, he wants Gonzo, who seems like a pretty good dude, to sweep the leg and blind Sallow on purpose, which is not really how they do things in the game. In spite of the fact that the game is violent, you don't go out of your way to, like, injure somebody.
Look, it seems like that's kind of the point of the game, though. Like, I get it. You don't go out of your way, but, like, don't you? They fucking broke that guy's leg off.
It's like, it's like mixed martial arts. Like, you're fighting and shit, and you're trying to sort of, like, you know, knock the other guy out or force him to submit, but there's no real malice there. You're not trying to, like, fucking kill this person.
I don't know. Fine line here. This is a distinction without a difference.
So yeah, in the morning, Gar comes up to tell it to this crazy ass hotel wall, shouting that their challenge was accepted.
I love this part because he's like screaming and screaming, and
going,
someone yells,
"Shut
up!" And then he's like, they accept it, and someone goes, who cares?
So the Juggers arrive to the city field, which is a hard metal floor surrounded by specter cages. Vile is the only spectator because of, besides his elegant lady, which is that, I love that. That's like an official term.
That's what she's called?
That she is called an elegant lady. That's why they keep saying that word, that phrase.
Is that like a protected term?
That's her official station.
Is she a courtesan?
Yeah.
She's like a fancy lady?
Yeah. So she is not in it for the brutality. She likes the game for the heroics, the blood of heroes.
Very.
Yep. So Gonzo tells one of his Juggers to put a pin on Sallow, which means he's going to restrain and sit on a player.
Which you think is like, oh, this is a strategy or something, but you're just introducing it now. So when he says it, I feel like we're all supposed to be like, oh, except nobody knows what the fuck it means because it hasn't come up yet.
Yeah. I think the guy he's talking to also is Guy Norris, the stunt coordinator.
Yes.
Yeah. So the teams square off and go house on one another as soon as the first stone is thrown. The Red City team is a guy who wields 2 chains instead of 1. And he whips them on the ground, throwing sparks. It's bad as hell.
It's a very, it's like when, I can never remember the dude's name, he's one of the 3 lightning guys in Big Trouble in Little China. He's also in, what was that Van Damme movie?
Right.
He basically does this in the Van Damme movie, where he's like flipping the chain, or he's like flipping the bars around in his hands and like hitting them on the ground. Real cool.
So cool. This match is way more brutal than the ones we've seen before. Our team is getting the absolute shit knocked out of them, and Sallow gets sat on. Yeah, it's a bit of a Hoosiers moment here. This is where it reveals itself as a sports film. Yeah. Vile is mad that Sallow is pinned because he wanted him hurt. Kidda has the skull, though. She's getting the shit knocked out of her, but she's holding on to it. And the city team's coach wordlessly signals plays to his Juggers with his hands.
Meanwhile, Bell's palsy is throwing stones.
Yeah, Kidda is doing all the sorts of acrobatic shit to stay out of reach of the other quick, but she's not getting any closer. And pretty soon they've broken the challenge record and last longer than anyone has before. Word of the challenge spreads into the city. People run to the field to watch the challengers stand up to the city team. Kidda keeps the city quick off of the spike, even though he has the skull. It's a tense standoff over the spike while the rest of her team gets brutalized. They don't give up, though. Pretty soon the 100th stone is thrown, ending the round, and the place goes nuts. Cornrows got real fucked up. Oh, yeah, she got knocked the fuck out. The place goes nuts, and Gar basks in the applause. So now they regroup during the break. Big Kimber's leg is broken. They can't go on. The city team brings in fresh players, and Gandhi comes in to take Kimber's place. The bringing in of like fresh players is something that we see a couple of times. Feels a little unfair.
Yeah, because what if you have a bunch of extra I mean, that is essentially what happens in this moment. It's like the other team has a whole stable of people they can bring up, whereas this group has just them.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now Sallow makes a plan for the next round, and Gonzo swears to end it in 10 stones.
Yeah, so I feel like Sallow really becomes the coach they needed.
Right. So the crowd is going nuts as they square up for the next round. Kidda gets the skull early. Gandhi knocks a dude down who sat on Sallow in the last round. He hooks him up and restrains him. Gonzo and Sallow fight like dogs until he pins Gonzo to the wall and beats the crap out of him. And once he's cast a knowing glance at Lord Vile, he knocks the opposing quick out, tells Kidda to walk the skull up to the spike slowly since they have this match well in hand now.
Okay, but maybe not as slowly as she actually does, because I'm like, would you just pick up the pace? Something could go wrong at any minute here.
I know. The crowd is ecstatic as she triumphantly spikes the skull. In the aftermath, she is swept up by the crowd as Sallow looks on, proud, I guess. He helps Gonzo up, and they do some of that sweet sportsmanship. The elegant lady wipes some of Gar's blood off on her face.
This bitch is insatiable.
Oh, she loves that blood of heroes.
Yeah.
Bulu has been asked to stay on with the league. Gonzo wants to know what will happen to Sallow, but Vile tells him that he's just letting him go back to playing to shithole dog towns until he can't play any longer.
Which, I mean, it's basically now.
Right. As Sallow leaves, Kidda watches him go tearfully in her new league Jugger uniform. It feels a little abrupt.
Yeah.
There should have been a little something there.
I'm telling you, I feel like they ran out of money.
I think it's just the fucking curse of being recut for like different markets.
Yeah.
You know, like, because this movie it's not a long movie, but it's long enough for an action movie to start to feel a little long in the tooth at like 100 minutes.
Well, and I think that's why I got to the end of the movie and I was like, wait, that's the end? Like, what was the objective here?
Yeah. Back out of the waist, Gandhi suits up Kimber and the new Juggers as a new crew of Juggers with glowing eyes wait for them on the horizon. Sallow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is a fucking awesome shot. Oh my God. Sallow with his eyes sewn shut encourages his new quick as they watch the new challenger, seen only in silhouette. Roll credits.
And Fiend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the dudes with the glowing eyes looks really cool.
Yeah.
That's like an epic shot. But to get to the end and just be like, well,
they won.
There you go. You won the big game.
Yeah, that's it. It feels like it needed a little bit more.
An adversary?
Maybe just something, because I mean, we don't really. They set the league Juggers up to be this like unstoppable, just irresistible force.
But they're no different than the other teams they've played.
Yeah, there's no real way to sort of tell that they're a cut above. We only really see one of them by name. The others are again, mostly because this part of the movie takes place in the dark, and the available prints of this are so fucking dark that they just sort of blend in, and they feel like the other teams. There's nothing to really differentiate the two of them. The match
it's just the one dude in a bunch of red shirts.
Yeah, it seems like the rest of the match is every bit as violent as the other ones that they've played. Like, there's really nothing that sort of distinguishes the league Juggers. So it doesn't really feel like they're like the stakes are any higher than they were before when they were just playing for change out on these dog towns they keep calling them.
Well, and the guy, the fucking viceroy, what is he? The chancellor?
Lord Vile, he's just like city nobility.
I mean, like they kind of imply lightly that he's kind of the antagonist, but he's not. He's just like, there's nothing there. There's no there to that part of the story.
No, he's he's just a shitty rich guy. We're given enough to sort of imply that, and that he is the guy that Sallow crossed in his path, but not enough noise is made about that to sort of give it any fucking stakes. Because it turns out like Sallow wanted to go back there to essentially give the city nobility the finger. But again, you gotta really fucking think about it to get to that conclusion.
Yeah, you didn't tell me really why, other than like, oh, he was having an affair with this lady. The end. They don't even really talk about that. And so like you have
and
this
maybe
movie.
that elegant lady is the elegant lady from the stories. Like, again, it's very
And I mean,
hard
that's
to tell.
that's implied, but like, that's the problem is so much of this is like very vaguely implied. There's not really a lot of stakes set up throughout the movie. There's no real antagonist at all. And like, you're like, well, what are we working towards here? Is it just to get a better job? Like that's
It is kind of that way.
but
Like
only for some of you.
climbing
And
up
it's
the corporate
clear-
ladder.
And it's clear which ones of you that's going to be from the very start. So like you've built out this world and there's some nice writing and it's great, but like there's no story to it. There's no narrative arc. There's no adversity. There's nothing to overcome. So by the time you get to the end, you're like, well, what else can you do but just stop the story? Like it just
Right.
That's
Yeah.
it, I
I think
guess.
that is ultimately the problem is there's no climax really. It's just a series of these like the matches that they play and then it just kind of ends.
Which is why it feels like a sports movie, because you get to the end and you play, the big football game at the end and you guys win. And that's the triumph. But even in those movies, you still have little Rudy who's kind of like working his way up on the football team. Like you still have things to achieve.
Yeah, it's like
And things to
Slapshot. Like
overcome.
they're the Chiefs are this like Bush League team who, against all odds, and in a lot of ways for the wrong reasons, sort of climb up to a much higher level of play, and sort of like you're going towards the big match, and so when the big match happens, it's portrayed in a way that is like, oh shit, are these guys going to win it? Is it going to be close? Because
Or like someone's going to try to undermine your team and cheat or whatever. That doesn't happen here either. In fact, it's quite the opposite, where they're all very gentlemanly.
Yeah. The guy, and also even for that guy, the Gonzo, the one who is supposed to sweep the leg Johnny, he doesn't, and then he's just like, listen, man, I don't play like that, and like that there should have been like consequences for that, and there aren't.
Yeah, there's zero conflict. Like in a movie that is super violent, there's zero conflict and there's no antagonist. So like, where is this going?
I know.
It can't go anywhere.
And so I think that's why, like, when we came out the other end, like it's a very entertaining movie. It's just not a terribly satisfying movie. And so like we watched it and we're like, okay, cool. Yeah. I'd probably order that. But like there was no real like, holy shit, that was so much better than I was expecting it to be. I definitely feel like it held up in my memory. Like it's the movie that I remember it being.
Yeah. I mean, the end result is not great, but you can tell that maybe at some point it could have been. Well, I don't know if it could have been. It's still going to be a action sports movie, but it's something happened and it ended up being what it is.
Yeah.
But like, these are all very talented people who just kind of didn't have what they needed to execute something grander.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, which is weird because it's a fucking movie directed by a writer, a person who really should have understood like the narrative beats. Because this guy is not some like some nobody. Like he wrote some fucking big movies.
Well, this was another thing we ran into not that long ago, where like telling a story with words is a lot different than telling a story with images. And one is not the other. And so if you go into it being like, I'm going to tell this big thing, and you're like, oh wait, you can't do that. I can't have, internal worlds. I can't have, internal monologues and shit like that.
There is no inner monologue to movies, and movies that try to portray that end up really weird and stilted. Like David Lynch's Dune does that, where you like occasionally you'll hear the actor's thoughts and it's weird as fuck when they do that.
Which is another movie that was like heavily interfered with throughout the whole thing, to the extent that it becomes like an Alan Smithy movie.
Right.
Yeah. So I think maybe like that's also part of the problem is like, this is a different kind of storytelling. And if you don't know how to do that, or you're not very skilled at doing that, it's not going to work very well.
Yeah. But I feel like those reviews that you read before we were talking about the movie, I agree with them. Like it's a movie.
You know what's interesting? I will say, we've been doing this over 2 years now.
Yep.
I will say one of the biggest takeaways is my appreciation for professional film criticism. Like, you know, when you read some of the the locally papers, the lesser papers, smaller ones, I guess is probably a better word. And you're like, okay, these are people who, this is not like, they're not film critics. They're not like trained in literary criticism or cultural criticism. But when you get up to the levels of people like Vincent Canby and, you know, Pauline Kael and shit like that, it's like, oh, you're very good at this. Yeah. Like, and you start to see, like, I may not agree with you on a lot of this stuff, but when it comes to the finer points of what you're actually talking about, like, that is a proper film review. Is you're not telling me if it's good or bad. You're talking about it in the context in which it was made. I think that's one of the bigger takeaways that I found is like, they're usually pretty spot on. It's like, sometimes they'll be like, this movie's fucking terrible.
Oh yeah, sure. Like there's so many times you've read a review and I can't help but go, hey, they're not wrong.
Yeah. Which is why I have less respect for people like Siskel and Ebert, where it's like, you're just shitting on this. Like, you're not even talking about the film on its technical merits, on anything other than the fact that you don't like the genre or the subject matter, which is, I think, really extremely unprofessional. That's why I like you when we read these at the top, it's like, yeah, you're right. This is a movie that is like, it's an action movie that does not have much going on for it, but you know, you'll enjoy it, I guess.
Yeah, it's competently made. It's got a look. It's got a great look about it. And that is ultimately, I think, why I come back to it or why I came back to it and felt so good about it is after years of watching like Italian post-nuke movies that were made on like $100,000 and look like they were made on $100,000. It's nice to come back around to one of these that feels like it really feels like a sort of extension of the Mad Max movies.
I mean, and I think that also speaks to why cultural context is really important too, because, you know, we watch those, you know, Italian exploitation movies, particularly these ones, and it's like, yes, they look cheap, they feel cheap, they're fun, but like, you have to understand where they're coming from and why this movie is very different from those, despite the fact that they're both trying to do the same thing. Like, the Italian ones, they know exactly what they're doing. They're not inept. They're just cheap.
Yeah, they're just cheap.
And they want money.
You're trying to make an elaborate science fiction movie without an elaborate science fiction movie budget.
Yeah, and you don't really care that much. You're really aimed at making. I think they had fun and they liked what they made, but like you can tell when these Italian directors, make something that they are very proud of, because when they do it well, they do it very well.
Oh,
you watch something like Don't Torture a Duckling and you're like, holy shit, you made that?
I cannot possibly imagine what a movie made by like Sergio Martino or Enzo Castellari would have looked like if they had a $10 million budget instead of a $10,000 budget, you know?
Yeah. So like understanding where they're coming from is very important, because it's like, otherwise you'd be like, well, why couldn't these Italians make that? Because it's like, that's not what they were trying to make. They are ostensibly making very similar movies, but they're really not once you figure out where they're coming from. And this is, I think, an example of a movie where like they did a lot with a little and they made it work. And it's a fun watch. Yeah. I mean, I would wait until the new, if you haven't seen it, you want to watch it, I'd wait for the new one.
I'd wait for the umbrella release because, man, it is, like I said, first of all, I believe the only available versions are pan and scan. There's no widescreen,
which is rough at certain points, because I was like, oh, haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, oh my God. When it had the sides cut off, I was like, oh shit, we are in it now. Yeah. But no, it's fine. It's fun. I recommend it. It's just if you've made it this far, I believe we've probably made a pretty good case for keeping your expectations in check.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that said, where are we off to next?
Well, as you have said at the top, we are kicking off Pride Month with the campiest of campy classics, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. And then in 2 weeks, 99-cent rental will return with William Friedkin's controversial gay serial killer drama, Cruising.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I believe we got a guest.
I think we do. I think we have a guest who is very knowledgeable about that film.
Yeah. So, all
it's
right.
Al Pacino.
it's our guest will be Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
No, it won't. Don't believe a word we're saying. So we back here in a week as we take on Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. We're going to write a letter to Daddy in that one. And then I'll be back in 2 for cruising.